Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. I came across this church news article today. Church reaffirms immigration principles: love, law, family unity. And it's interesting because, what's going on right now with Trump. That's why this is happening. And it's interesting because this takes me back in time to 2011. You remember the Mormon Moment? We're going to talk about that because that wasn't the last time that the church had put out some kind of official statement about immigration, but that was a big one. I don't know if you remember it or not. Put in the comments, do you remember the Mormon Moment and what was going on with the states at that time, and specifically Utah passing a bill and, changing the law or changing the state's view of immigration and what they were going to do about it. Do you remember this? Okay, so there's nothing in this article that's really unique outside of what it refers, like the references that it has. So we're going to go to the original sources, but thank you to Scott Taylor, who wrote this article that helped me find where to find these things. So everything that we're about to read, I have it on my spreadsheet. This is my spreadsheet called Quotes A through Z. I have a new entry. It's currently row 231 for immigration illegal. Okay. And this might be something good to go over because this is a hot topic right now. It's been a debate for a long time, and I think it's important to know, what should our attitude be as members of the church? Because on the one hand, there's a lot of resistance to illegal immigration, but it's like it happens, and what are we supposed to do about it? What's the church's view? What are we taught? It's in the scriptures, and it's also in official church statements. So let's see what we got here. Okay, so this article is coming out because you have this official church statement issued January 30th of 2025. Church reaffirms immigration principles: love, law, and family unity. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has reiterated principles and communicated guidelines to local leaders in the United States regarding immigration issues. As disciples of Jesus Christ, the following principles guide the church's approach. Okay. Number one, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints obeys the law. And there's going to be more on that. I have the scriptures and everything, so don't worry. Number two, we follow Jesus Christ by loving our neighbors. The Savior taught that the meaning of neighbor includes all of God's children. Number three, we seek to provide basic food and clothing as our capacity allows to those in need, regardless of their immigration status. Now, here's like a key point right here. We are especially concerned about keeping families together. Okay, so those are the three things, but there's more in other statements. The guidance closely follows statements made previously on these issues, which are available on the church website. We're going to look at those. The Office of General Counsel, or OGC, which I had never heard of this before. Let me know if you knew about the OGC. Has created guidelines to help local leaders comply with federal laws that criminalize harboring, transporting, or encouraging undocumented immigrants to remain in the United States. OGC also carefully tracks legal developments to ensure local outreach and area-initiated humanitarian activities are appropriate. Local leaders should be in contact with the Office of General Counsel for further information. So there's no link to anything, so I don't know if they've published anything on the internet, or if you're just, like it says here, you're supposed to just contact them directly if you have a question, like if you're a local leader. So I hadn't seen this before, this whole thing about contacting the OGC, and it seems like these guidelines they're talking about are new and in response to Trump's policy on immigration. Okay, so let's dig deeper into this. And by the way, This is not meant to be like a political video. None of my videos really are. We do talk about political things. I keep on top of church news, and especially when it seems like it's something that has to do with signs of the times and our proximity to the second coming. But anyway, let's try and have a level-headed approach. I know that this is a sensitive topic for both those that are for and against illegal immigration. Okay, so we're going to start with this. Doctrine and Covenants 58, verses 21 to 23. Let no man break the laws of the land. For he that keepeth the laws of God hath no need to break the laws of the land. Wherefore, be subject to the powers that be until he reigns, until he reigns whose right it is to reign, and subdues all enemies under his feet. Behold, the laws which ye have received from my hand are the laws of the church, and in this light ye shall hold them forth. Behold, here is wisdom. So this can be kind of difficult for some people, not me so much, but being subject to the powers that be. I know that there's people that are people that are pretty extreme, and extremism isn't good on either side of the political spectrum. These are usually the people that have issues with these kind of things. They think that their cause is so noble or righteous, or that they're so in the right that, they know better and what they do is justified. And this is how you end up with, riots and crazy demonstrations, or you have people that maybe don't resort to that, but, they break the law. They don't think that they need to obey the law. They think that they need to criticize the church. The church needs to be stronger on this or stronger on that. Usually that comes from people with very extreme views, people that are not, they don't have moderation in their lives, or they've been really influenced by others that are extreme. So, wherefore, be subject to the powers that be until he reigns whose right it is to reign. So it's talking about Christ in the second coming when he implements his political kingdom. Okay. Articles of Faith 12. We believe in being subject to kings, presidents, rulers, and magistrates, in obeying, honoring, and sustaining the law. So, of course, we're bringing this up because if you go to another country illegally, you're breaking the law. Unless you go through the proper process, you're breaking the law. Okay, so we have this statement, this official church statement. This was published June 10th of 2011. And this was going on during the Mormon Moment. Here's an article from Newsweek. I wanted to pull something up. Just in case you wanted to read more, I'll put a link for this in the description box below. There's a lot of stuff going on in 2011, in 2012. Notably, you had Mitt Romney, who was running for president. This right here would be the Book of Mormon play. Steve Young. Not that that's like something from 2011 and 2012 necessarily. I'm just trying to see who I recognize here. Got Glenn Beck, Huntsman. I guess these would be the Donnie and Marie Osmond, Gladys Knight. Oh yeah, Harry Reid, a Democrat from Nevada. He's not in government anymore, but he was speaker of the House at one time. I don't recognize these other people. I feel like I should know who this girl is, but I don't know. Put it in the comments below if you know. Or like this guy with the beard. There's President Monson. Anyway, so yeah. So this is what was going on. You had Mitt Romney, who's a member of the church that was running for president. He was campaigning against Barack Obama. And there was this thing going on with immigration. And I remember this because this was all the news, all the rage back then, this like issue. So I asked Grok on X to explain I said, can you explain what was happening with several U.S. states in 2011 in regards to immigration, which included Utah Bill HB 497? And it says, in 2011, several U.S. states, including Utah, were actively legislating on the topic of immigration, often with measures that mirrored Arizona's controversial Senate Bill 1070 from the previous year. Here's an overview of what was happening with these states, focusing on Utah's House Bill HB 497. So you may remember this. You may not remember this until I read this part right here. So Arizona's influence. This law was one of the most stringent anti-immigration laws in the U.S., which included provisions for law enforcement to check immigration status during routine stops if there was, quote unquote, reasonable suspicion of illegal presence. This law set a precedent for other states, including Utah. And I'm not going to read this here, but this is what prompted the church to put out this statement, okay? So the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints today issued the following official statement on immigration. Oh, by the way, if you're not a member of the church, we're not the Mormon Church. That's a nickname that we don't prefer to be called that. The official name of the church is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Okay. Around the world, debate on the immigration question has become intense. That is especially so in the United States. Most Americans agree that the federal government of the United States should secure its borders and sharply reduce or eliminate the flow of undocumented immigrants. Unchecked and unregulated, such a flow may destabilize society and ultimately become unsustainable. So this is the church saying that, okay? As a matter of policy, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints discourages its members from entering any country without legal documentation and from deliberately overstaying legal travel visas. What to do with the estimated 12 million undocumented immigrants now residing in various states within the United States is the biggest challenge in the immigration debate. The bedrock moral issue for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is how we treat each other as children of God. The history of mass expulsion or mistreatment of individuals or families is cause for concern, especially where race, culture, or religion are involved. This should give pause to any policy that contemplates targeting any one group, particularly if that group comes mostly from one heritage. And, I agree. Let me just put in my commentary here. I agree. It should be, anybody that's here illegally. Something's got to be done about it. It doesn't matter if they're from Central or South America, Europe, Africa, Australia, whatever, Asia. Just, I know it's complicated. I know there's a lot of good people that are just trying to find a better life, but we can't break the law, especially as members of the church. So anyway, as those on all sides of the immigration debate in the United States have noted, this issue is one that must ultimately be resolved by the federal government. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is concerned that any state legislation that only contains enforcement provisions is likely to fall short of the high moral standard for treating each other as children of God. The church supports an approach where undocumented immigrants are allowed to square themselves with the law and continue to work without this necessarily leading to citizenship. And I feel like that's a pretty level-headed approach. Again, the church has said that one of their main concerns is separating families. And it seems, I'm just kind of like skimming through this, I think that was the approach that was going to be Mitt Romney's policy. Let's see. It says it here somewhere. Who cares? You can read that if you want. Let's go back to this. In furtherance of needed immigration reform in the United States, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints supports a balanced and civil approach to a challenging problem, fully consistent with its tradition of compassion, its reverence for family, and its commitment to law. Let's see. Let's move on. Here's a more recent one. This one was during President Nelson's first year as president of the church. June 18th, 2018, church statement on separation of families at the U.S.-Mexico border. Due to media inquiries, the church has issued the following statement. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has long expressed its position that immigration reform should strengthen families and keep them together. The forced separation of children from their parents now occurring at the U.S.-Mexico border is harmful to families, especially to young children. We are deeply troubled by the aggressive and intensive treatment of these families. While we recognize the right of all nations to enforce their laws and secure their borders, we encourage our national leaders to take swift action to correct the situation and seek for rational, compassionate solutions. So, I mean, this isn't something that I really follow too closely, so I don't know really what's being referred to here when they're talking about like this like harsh treatment or separating families. Like, I don't know what that looks like. I understand those words, but I don't know like in practice really what that looks like or what happens. I don't know all the intricacies of this process. But anyway, the church has an interest in keeping families together. There's also another interest of the church, by the way, I think. We're going to go to this spreadsheet later talking about immigration and the presence of the church in other countries and taking the gospel to every nation, kindred, and tongue. So we're going to look at that in just a minute. But first, I want to look at these three sections of the church handbook, the general handbook. They have an entry here for immigration. Members who remain in their native lands often have opportunities to build up and strengthen the church there. So that's something to consider. Maybe where you're trying to leave, maybe they need you, both spiritually and temporally. So, however, immigration to another country is a personal choice. Members who move to another country should obey all applicable laws. And then it says, it refers us to Doctrine and Covenants 58:21, which we already read. Missionaries should not offer to sponsor others' immigration, nor should they ask their parents, relatives, or others to do so. Now that's kind of interesting because I don't know if you've ever served a mission outside the United States, but I served in Spain, and this was back from 2004 to 2006. In Spain at that time, and I'm sure even more so now, had a lot of immigrants from all over, mostly like Northern and West Africa, some Eastern European countries like Romania. There were a lot there from Central and South America as well. And there was one time I was a little bit iffy. There were these three guys from Ghana, and one of them seemed like really sincere. The second one, it was hard to read. The third one, it kind of felt like there was an angle. Now, he didn't ask me to be his sponsor to come to the United States. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what ultimately happened to him because I lost contact. But they ended up getting baptized. And I could see how a missionary wanting to be kind and loving their investigators or members of the church or other people that they meet on their missions, how they would want to, lend that support and be like, hey, I can help you come over. But I don't know. I think there can be some issues with that. I don't know if you've ever watched the show 90 Day Fiance. That's actually a show that me and Jenica are watching right now. And it's basically where people want to marry somebody from another country, bring them over here to the United States. They also have like another series where it's like the other way, Americans that are going to another country. But there's a lot of potential for that process to be abused, where the person coming to the United States, they they have ulterior motives. They're using marriage as a way to get to the United States, and then they ditch that person. Um, so, yeah. So missionaries should not offer to sponsor others' immigration, nor should they ask their parents, relatives, or others to do so. The church does not sponsor immigration through church employment. Church members offer their time, talents, and friendship to welcoming immigrants and refugees as members of their community. So we need to be kind. We need to be loving. You don't just like treat someone poorly because of where they're from, even if they're here illegally. We're called upon to be disciples of Christ and love all people, but the church is putting out what is expected of its membership. There was a scripture here, Matthew 25, verse 35. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. And I've never really looked at this scripture that way, especially this part. I was a stranger. So yeah, let's think about that. Let's go to this one. Here's a section for refugees. Many people have fled their homes seeking relief from violence, war, religious persecution, and life-threatening situations. As part of their responsibility to care for those in need, see Mosiah 4:26, which we will in a second, church members offer their time, talents, and friendship to welcome refugees as members of their communities. So it says responsibility to care for those in need. And let's read Mosiah 4:26. And now, for the sake of these things which I have spoken unto you, that is, for the sake of retaining a remission of your sins from day to day, that you may walk guiltless before God. Okay, that you may walk guiltless before God. I would that you should impart your substance to the poor, every man according to that which he hath, such as feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting the sick, and administering to their relief, both spiritually and temporally, according to their wants. And then the last one is also from the church handbook, laws of the land. So just laws in general, not just immigration or things like that. Laws in general. Members should obey, honor, and sustain the laws in any country where they live or travel. And then it says this includes laws that prohibit proselyting. And that's something that we honor, notably in the state of Israel. We're not allowed to proselyte there, and we honor that. We're not like other religious groups that break into countries, come through the back door, and secretly distribute, the Bible or whatever. We do it the right way. And the Lord can do his own work. At some point, he will open up those countries, and everybody's going to have a fair shot. Whether it's in this life, or in the spirit world, but the Lord is in control. Okay, and then lastly, I've talked about this before, but I've heard it said, I can't really confirm this, but I've heard it said that the church actually has an interest in people coming from other countries, or being allowed to, come here, at least temporarily, because this is a list that I've compiled of all the countries that the church has had a presence in. Okay. Excuse me. So that's all these countries here in green. Let me zoom in. So you have all these that at least at one time have had missionaries within their borders. But then you have all these countries right here that do not have missionaries. Now, what's interesting is that some of these countries, they actually do have, for example, stakes and wards and districts and branches and meeting houses and even temples. So, for example, sometime in the near future, there's going to be a temple in United Arab Emirates, the first one in the Middle East in this dispensation. So you have all these countries where there already is some sort of presence in the church. But then I want to call your attention to column B. This is total number of people that have immigrated to the United States from these different countries from 2011 to 2020. And so you see, we may not be able to send missionaries to whatever, China, Cuba, all these places, Afghanistan, but a lot of them are coming here. And this is just the United States from 2011 to 2020. That it doesn't include the entirety of American history. It doesn't include Canada, Australia, or Western European countries, or just anywhere where there are missionaries. South America, Africa, whatever. People move around. And in some cases, it may be the Lord moving people around. Now, hopefully, again, they're coming legally. But even so, I think the Lord would have an interest in bringing someone somewhere where they can come across the gospel. Right. So I think it's not a good idea to get bent out of shape one way or the other on this issue, but to be moderate and follow the lead of the church and listen to their guidance, which I think is really good. It's balanced. We don't break the law. We don't encourage people to break the law. But at the same time, we have compassion and we help people and we serve them. And there could be other things going on spiritually that are beneficial for those people. And hopefully in an orderly way, things can all get fixed. Hopefully families can stay together. So I don't know. I've always wondered why, it isn't easier for people to, if we want to allow more people to come to the United States, why don't we just lessen the restrictions? Now, I don't know everything about immigration. Obviously, we don't want bad people coming here, people that are criminals and stuff like that. But I don't know why there isn't some kind of change on that side. But I don't know. That's too much for me to think about right now. But you can share your comments and your thoughts in the comments below. So, interesting stuff. That's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.